So last time I had spoken on people we should not speak to Krishna about. Today I want to discuss the subject that the Bhagawad Geeta is for devotees of Krishna. And I must point out only. So the Bhagawad Geeta is spoken by the Lord to his devotees. And repeatedly Krishna says to Arjuna, I'm telling you this because you are my devotee and you are my friend. So people who are inimical to Krishna, people who are disinterested in hearing about Krishna, people who are envious of Krishna. So in all we have discussed last time, don't waste your time talking about Krishna. So one of the questions that was asked in the comments, comment came after the session was over, was why do we need to judge other people? Why can't we simply concentrate on developing our own spiritual progress? Very good question. And the answer is that Krishna really expects us to share this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita with other devotees of himself. So, since you need to share the Bhagavad Gita with others who are devotees of Krishna, it's important to understand who we should share it with and who we should not share it with. If you go into the Bhagavad Gita and you see chapter 18, verse 68, Krishna says very clearly, Ya idam paramam goyam mad bhakteshva abhidasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mam evashyatya asamshaya. It's a very important verse in the Bhagavad. He says, amongst my devotees, those who share this most confidential knowledge that one must surrender to God. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshaisham mascha. One who teaches this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, such a person is sharing this love with my devotees, enlightening my devotees. Madhya Bhakteshwar. He doesn't say that you have to go and shout it on the rooftops. He says, Madhya Bhakteshwar, those who are my devotees. Bhaktim mam mai param kritva mam evashyatya asamshaya. He's saying this act of sharing this knowledge with other devotees of mine is indeed a great act of love. And he says, such a person is guaranteed to get bhakti. Such a person who shares this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita with others, who are my devotees, is guaranteed to come back to me, is guaranteed to get bhakti and come back to me. So this is so important to understand, that Krishna wants you to share this knowledge with his devotees. In fact, he says to emphasize, to illustrate, and to reiterate. Krishna says in chapter 18, verse 69, "Na cha tasman manusyeshu kaschin me priya kritamaha bhavita na cha me tasmad anya priyataro bhuvi." No human being does more loving service to me than this person who's sharing this knowledge with my devotees. Never has there been anyone more dear to me, and never there shall be anyone more dear to me than this person who's sharing this knowledge with my devotees. So this is important. Krishna says very clearly that this knowledge must be shared with your devotees, with his devotees. And therefore, it's important to understand that Hinduism is not one religion. Hinduism is a commonwealth of religions. It's a basket of religions. It's a commonwealth of religions which have taken birth on this subcontinent. So many religions came up here. I often compare Silicon Valley and its startup culture to this startup culture of new religions in India or in this on the subcontinent. So many religions came up because there were no religions that tried to crush the other. No religion tried to crush the other. And because no religion tried to crush the other, as many religions as you could put up, that many religions came up. But you have to understand one thing, that although so many religions came up, the Bhagavad Gita does not belong to all of them, because this commonwealth of religions that arises from the subcontinent, it has religions like Buddhism, it has religions like Jainism, it has religions like Shaivism, it has so many religions. Bhagavad Gita essentially belongs to those who worship Vishnu, Krishna. Therefore, it is the primary text of Vaishnavas. Once you accept that Krishna is God, once you accept that Vishnu is God, then you are qualified to understand, accept, read, study, and worship the Bhagavad Gita. Excuse me. So, Krishna speaks for his devotees. He does not speak for all and sundry, and certainly not for those people who we have covered in the previous round of lectures. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna points out that the characteristics of his devotees, what are the characteristics of his devotees? The characteristics of his devotees are that they are always sharing and talking to each other about the Krishna. Sorry. So Krishna points out that machittamat gata prana bodhyantas parasparam katyantas cha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. This is chapter 10, verse 9. So in chapter 10, verse 9, Krishna clearly states that with their mind fixed on me, with their lives surrendered to me, my devotees are ever content and satisfied within me. They derive great satisfaction and bliss in enlightening each other about me and in conversing about my glories. They take great joy in enlightening one another about Krishna and in conversing about Krishna's glories. This is the activity of Krishna's devotees. So Krishna says, Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. And these devotees who are always enlightening each other about me, those devotees who are constantly sharing the glories of the Lord amongst themselves, Krishna is united with them in loving devotion. And he gives them the divine knowledge by which they can come to him. So it is Krishna who gives them the knowledge by which they can come to him. In fact, Krishna says, Tesham kampartham aham ajnana jam tama nashamyatma bhavasto jnanam deepena basvataha. Out of compassion for them, I who dwell within their hearts, destroy the darkness that is born out of ignorance with the luminous lamp of knowledge. So this is what Krishna does. That if you are always talking about Krishna to his devotees, if you're sharing the knowledge of Krishna with his devotees, if you're discussing the Bhagavad Geeta amongst your devotees, his Krishna's devotees, then he seated in his heart gives you the knowledge by which to come to him. With the shining lamp of knowledge, Krishna destroys the darkness born out of ignorance. Right? So this is what Krishna does. And the nature of one who is absorbed in Krishna, the nature of a person who is absorbed in Krishna is described in chapter 9, text 14. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridvrataha namashyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So, this is the characteristic of one who is a real devotee of Krishna. He cannot keep to himself only developing his own spiritual progress. He has to share it with other devotees of Krishna. He is always chanting Krishna's glories. He is endeavoring with great determination. He is always bowing down before Krishna. He is sharing everything with other devotees of Krishna. This is the characteristic of Krishna's devotee. Therefore, it is important to understand that part of studying Bhagavad Gita, part of living Bhagavad Gita, is to keep the company of those who are also acquiring this knowledge and sharing this knowledge with them. And when you share this knowledge with them, Krishna, who is pleased with you, gives you the guidance by which you can come to him. And not only does he do that, but he also guarantees that for you, bhakti is guaranteed and that you will come to him without any doubt. So in the Bhagawad Geeta, in chapter 7, text 16, Krishna points out that there are four types of pious people who surrender unto him, who offer devotion to Krishna. Who are these four kinds of people? Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukritino arjuna artho jignasur arthati jnani cha bharata sabha. O best amongst the Bharatas, four kinds of pious people render devotional service unto me. Those who are distressed, there are people who are materially distressed, people who are financially distressed, people who are distressed health-wise, people who are distressed in their relationships, people who are distressed because the world appears unfair to them, people who are distressed because they see that they have been treated unfairly. So these distressed people come to Krishna for relief. This is the first type of person who comes to Krishna. Then he says that artharthi. He says jana sukritino arjuna artho jignasur. Artho is distressed. Jignasur is the inquisitive person. There are others who come out of curiosity. What is this Krishna? What is this Bhagavad Gita? What is he saying? How does it apply in my life? What should I do in following Bhagavad Gita? So they are people who are jignasur. And then he says, arthati, those who are seeking wealth, those who desire wealth, those who desire power, those who desire plenty and prosperity, these people also come to Krishna. After all, the consort of Vishnu is Lakshmi. And no decent lady will ever enter your house if you do not invite her husband first. So many people do Lakshmi Pujan, but how many of them do Narayana Pujam? Because that has to be done before you do Lakshmi Puja, otherwise Lakshmi will not enter your home. So also people who desire Lakshmi, those who desire wealth, those who desire prosperity, those who desire plenty, they are also inclined to become devotees of Krishna. And lastly, he says, Jnani cha bharatar sabha. And the last person, he says, who comes to him is one who is in knowledge. Now, what do we mean by one who is in knowledge? I've discussed this before, but I'm telling you again. When you have this knowledge, what will you know? Yaj jnatva na punar moham evam yasyasi pandava sarva bhutani asheshani drakshasyaत्मनो atam. When you have learned this knowledge, you will know that all things lie within me, they're in me, and they're mine. So those who come in knowledge are those who have already come to that realization that they are and everything else lies within Krishna, they're within him and they're his. And from the impersonal absolute realization of God, which is the realization of Brahman, they now realize the necessity to worship the source of that Brahman, Krishna says he is Brahmano hi Pratishtaham. I am the source, I am the rest, I am the foundation of Brahman. Brahman emanates from me, he says. So those who are in knowledge, who come to the knowledge of Brahman, they automatically come to the realization that they must approach Krishna. In the Bhagavad Geeta, elsewhere, Krishna has written, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kamshati samah sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. For those who have realized Brahman, what happens to them? They become free from hankering and lamentation. They no longer seek the things of the world, and they no longer sorrow for the things they have lost in the world. They are even minded towards all living entities. They have no enemies and they are no special friends. They are equally loving towards everybody. And they get the gift. Krishna says, Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. They get the gift of pure devotion. So therefore, Krishna is very fond of that person who has realized Brahman, because he is ready for the next stage, which is Parabhakti. And of these four, all of them are dear to Krishna, but the fourth, who is already situated on the platform of Brahman, he is very dear to Krishna. And Krishna is very dear to him. Tesham Jnani Nikti Yukta Eka Bhaktir Vishishyate Priyo hi Jnanino Atyartham Aham Sacha Mama Priya. Of these, the one who is in knowledge is in full union with me through pure bhakti. He is the best, for he is very dear to me and I am very dear to him. So this is the characteristic of the fourth person. Of course, all of them are very dear to Krishna. Krishna says in the 18th chapter of the 7th verse, 18th verse of the 7th chapter, Udara sarva evaite jnani tva atmaiva me matam astita sa hi yuktatma mam evam anutamam gati. All these devotees are undoubtedly great souls, but one who is actually situated in knowledge of me, on the platform of Brahman, and in realization of Parabhakti. Such a person, I consider him to verily dwell within me, live within me. Being engaged in my Parabhakti, my devotional service, he attains me. Because Krishna points out, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyaschashmi tatvata tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tarantaram. Very clearly, Krishna points out that it is only through bhakti that you will attain me and know me as I am. Naham vede na tapasa na danena na cha ijjaya. Clearly, Krishna points out. Naham vede, not through scripture. Na tapasa, not by austerity. Na danena, not by giving in charity. Na cha ijjaya, not by ritualistic worship. Bhaktyatva ananya shakya. Aham eva vido Arjuna. So Krishna points out that not through study of scripture, not through study of the Vedas, na tapasa, not through austerity, not by giving in charity, It is only bhaktyatva ananya shakya aham evam vido arjuna. It is only through undeviated devotional service to me that you will attain me as I am. That's why he says, Bhaktya mama bijanati yavanyashchashmi tatvata tato mam tattato jnatva vishate tarantaram. So devotion takes you to Krishna and Krishna takes you to Parabhakti or supreme devotion. So it doesn't matter if you come to Krishna because you have desire for wealth, because you're suffering in some way in the world, because you're curious, or of course, most wonderfully, if you are already situated on the platform of Brahman, you should come to Krishna. And coming to Krishna means that Krishna expects you to share this knowledge with other devotees of his. So, therefore, it's very important to understand that the Bhagavad Gita is not meant for people who are studying it as a side text. They want to worship X, Y, and Z gods, and they want to have Bhagavad Gita on the side. They will not get the nectar of the Bhagavad Gita. Those who are truly devoted to Lord Krishna, those who are truly absorbed in Lord Krishna. In fact, I'll go further to say that those who have developed a personal relationship with Krishna, who speak to Krishna, not ritualistic prayers alone, but those who speak to Krishna in intimacy, who share their innermost secrets and thoughts with him, who talk to Krishna and whom Krishna talks to. Such people are real devotees of Krishna. So make it a point to accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord. And not only make it a point to accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, but become intimate with Krishna. Because if you keep talking to Krishna, then surely Krishna will also talk to you. And when Krishna talks to you, you will understand what you need to do within the world. And the things that you need to do within the world begin with sharing this knowledge of Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita with other devotees of Krishna. Because other devotees of Krishna, when you share this, they will share with you through the law of reciprocity. And as you share each with each other knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita and knowledge of Krishna, you all will enlighten each other. And as you enlighten each other, both of you shall be situated in peace. So, no man is an island. None of us are unique in the sense that we isolate each other from the rest of the world. I don't say that you have to go and mix with worldly minded people, but you must mix with devotees of Krishna. And the purpose of being with devotees of Krishna is to strengthen your faith. And you strengthen your faith by sharing the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita with them, by discussing Krishna with them and his glories with them. And this is how your faith will become strengthened. And thus, you will become very dear to Krishna. You will get Parabhakti. And eventually, you will return back home to Krishna. So I'll pause here. If you have any queries, questions, please go ahead and ask. Yes? Does anyone have any queries, questions, comments, anything to say? No, no one has any question? Well, then I will conclude. Jai Shri Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Om.